Hey everybody, welcome back. Episode 28 of the Fast Motor Podcast. I'm Elijah, my dad Randy. Big news dropped today, just a little ways before that I saw. 2028, the 48 Cup car has been filled. Alex Bowman retiring, and Connor Zilich gets the seat. Big news. I know it was rumored. A lot of people were thinking Corey Day. Connor Zilich. That's like a blockbuster trade. In baseball.
Yeah, I think if you listened, and I said it I said it to you, and I can't remember if it was on last week's episode or not, but I listened to a Justin Marks interview. And, when I drove that 61 truck, Steve Coulter was a pretty wise businessman. And he's like, don't ever listen to the press release or read a press release or listen to a press release of what it says. Listen to what it's not saying. And he just said, you've got to read between the lines, because a lot of what they're saying is not the whole story. And I listened to Justin Marks, and they're like, well, you hear this, what about this? He said, our focus is, right now and getting better. And next year, he didn't discount anything. And as soon as he didn't, like, I knew it was a done deal. Like, you could just hear because he speaks with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and he was tackling that a little bit different, very methodical, and knew he had his points to come across. So big news, I think very deserving news. It's really interesting reading a lot, of Jordan Bianchi and all of them. There's a lot of talk that SVG might be going in time. Ross Chastain has a lot of lookers because, I think he has Busch. Like, they've got a little bit of an exodus problem at Trackhouse right now. Now, they'll be fine. They'll find speed. They'll get their game back. But it was really interesting on that side that it wasn't just Zilich that you're hearing conversations about. And I don't think those are for next year. They would be for the next. But, SVG is getting pretty good everywhere. Sit on the pole in the truck race and is learning. So, that's shocking the system a little bit of, okay, there's some pretty good talent there, with some sponsorship with Red Bull, with SVG, with Busch possibly there. They've got to find some speed, and they need to work on their equipment and their stuff there, which I don't think, obviously Chevy's had a downfall this year. So each team that's partnered there has those challenges. But so, yeah, I was telling you offline, the funny thing for me is to read so much of the fans just thinking Corey Day is now done. Like, that was his one spot. That was it. That was the only hope. And as much as he's talented and he's doing great, I don't know where the entitlement is. One, just because you're signed with somebody that's a pathway, that's a guaranteed pathway. Or number two, that somebody at 21 years old needs to be in a cup car. Now, Zilich is a little bit younger, but he's proven himself. He's won 10, O'Reilly races. He, or maybe more now, but he won 10 in the season, which is dominant. He, he's a phenomenal road racing ace. And, Corey's learning pavement and learning stock cars. And no one's given up on him. There's been a huge investment, probably as much of an investment from a race team for a driver that's been made in quite some time.
Yeah.
Toyota's made great investments in drivers. I think there's manufacturers that have made investments in drivers, but as a race team doing what they've done for Corey Day, as a driver, you couldn't ask for more. What other team was going to pick him up out of dirt racing and give him even this opportunity? None. Zero. And
because he doesn't have his own sponsorship.
Right. He has nothing other than talent, which is what all fans want. So don't give up on him. Like, He's got a bright future. If
He's
he can
clearly showing the
prove
upside.
himself, he still has to win races.
Yeah,
He's in the
He's
best
showing
equipment. He has to win races on a consistent basis. And, I think we've all seen that he can find speed and he can be fast and he can be good. The next thing he has to learn is how to finish well when things are not good.
Yeah.
That's the next part of his racecraft that he has to learn.
Yeah.
And he'll do so. He's done so. He's had a couple bad weeks, but he'll be just fine. And there'll be a seat somewhere for him. We don't know what the future has. The rumor is Larson said he won't drive past 40 in Cup cars, and I don't know when he's 40. So
still ways, but not that.
Yeah,
not insanely long. But by that point, the Corey Day window will have been missed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's to your point. He's proven the hype behind the upside that he has.
Absolutely.
Everybody can see the upside. But yeah, he hasn't won on a consistent basis. And you go on even further. He started the year, pissed some people off, made some mistakes, got sat down, started finishing races, had really fast cars, was starting to put races together, got a couple wins. They've been a little bit of a rough stretch, especially Iowa. Like they weren't handling well. So their teams, no matter how good a team is, they're going to go through a patch where their stuff's not quite as good. They're missing with the setup. Something's not going right. That's where they've been. What he, like you said, needs to learn is how to take that car and still manage a good finish with it. I think he's been trying to make up for where they've missed on setup or whatnot. And yeah, I mean, he's made some mistakes that have put him behind the eight ball a little bit. So yeah, I mean, this is his first full-time season in stock cars.
He's done a phenomenal job.
He's done a phenomenal job of what he's with the experience he's had going in. I mean, phenomenal.
Yeah.
But he needs more time, and that's not a bad thing. Like it's like saying that is like, oh, he needs more time. It's like trying to say like that's bad. It's like, I mean, you've told the story of guys cup teams wouldn't even look at you until you turned 35.
Yeah.
Because you were too young. And so like we've shifted because we see this young talent coming up, and it's like it's a great thing to say he needs more time, because on the flip side, what you could be saying is he doesn't have it.
Right.
Saying he has more time, there's
the other side that, and I think we'll talk a little baseball here, is hey, there's 36 seats up there. Mm-hmm. That's it on Sunday. And as much as I look at my entire career and that's the spot I wanted to get, if you'd have taken me when I was racing midgets at Meridian Speedway and said I could go run an O'Reilly car or I would win truck races, man, I'd have signed on the bottom line that day if that's all it ever would have ended. That was more than I ever dreamed. And I don't like that we're dismissing those two levels of racing anymore. They're professional racers. They're making a living at it. They're grinding away, putting in a ton of work. And it's just like a minor league baseball player. Like you played on phenomenal teams and everybody wants to get to the show. Well, you know what? Those guys in AAA are pretty dang good baseball players.
Very.
And there might not be a spot opened up at shortstop ever, I mean, we knew Kenny, right? Like he played under Jimmy Rollins and the spot just never opened. Yeah. And as good as he could have been.
Yeah. He's a career 300 hitter.
Reserve in case Rollins ever got hurt, and Rollins never got hurt. So he never got to go.
Yep.
And he was so good. I mean, really, he was so good that they wouldn't let him go somewhere else because they wanted him as a backup.
Yep.
And so I don't like it. It's diminishing to me on my career to do everything we did, and you didn't get to Cup, so you were never a driver. You were never capable. There's 36 seats there. 15 of those are filled by money. The rest are filled by maybe talent with some money, and then there's probably 3 that are there purely as talent. Because and I know Bill Elliott and Chase Elliott said once, if Napa wouldn't have came along, there wasn't a spot for him in Cup. And he's a champion.
Yeah.
So
and he's the son of Bill Elliott.
Became, entitled to this belief of that, of what takes place. So Corey Day will be fine. He'll find a pathway if it's deserving, if he still wants to do it, this is where he wants to grind away. Maybe it's with Hendrick, maybe it's with Spire, maybe it's a couple years with Spire, then to Hendrick. Who knows what the pathway is? But I'll guarantee you they know more than we do on that topic. So sadly, that's became the conversation today. Not Connor Zilich. Worked hard, is a well-spoken kid. He's polished, presents himself well, knows how to race, and gets to go into one of the 4 Hendrick cars.
Congratulations.
Which is a dream come true.
Yeah.
And I think he'll really shine there. I think the organization fits him. And hey, take your hat off to Justin Marks, grabbing SVG, grabbing Ross Chastain, who was a little bit, putting him in great equipment, giving him the opportunity to showcase to them. And like there's so much good about all of the situation there that it should just be celebrated that somebody strictly on talent got the call.
Yep.
It's what fans are asking for. And, and he hasn't shown it this year, but he's starting to show it now. You're starting to see him run up front. And
they're starting to figure some stuff out.
Yeah. And then just, some bad luck. I mean, it is it's a bad cycle. You get in the first practice session. So then you go into the qualifying and then you go into the race and you're in the back and you get a bad pit stall. It's a lot to overcome without some real good luck. And it can kind of go wrong the other way. So, big news. There's a lot of talk about where Josh Berry's going, and truthfully, listening and reading between the lines, I don't think there's anything for him. I'm not hearing it at all. And sadly, here is a guy he's put 4 top 10s together or at least, top 10 runs. And I think he got a 4th, he got a 6th this weekend, and he had a 10th. I think he had a top 10 at Indy. So
yeah, he ran.
Maybe he was at 11th maybe 6th at Indy, 11th but either way, he's
regardless
running well, has proven himself. And, and it was really interesting too. One of that I read a little bit today was he hasn't said it completely out in the open, but he's alluded to he would rather run in a truck or an O'Reilly car and be competitive to win than he would just race on Sunday. And yeah, but there is a group that would be there on Sunday no matter what they could. Just it pays more money, I'm sure. It's the prestige.
Cody Ware.
That was kind of the end of my career. There were opportunities that came that were mid to backpack, start and park, do this. And I felt like out of respect to my career, I didn't want to go ride around or drive around. I wanted to either compete, which is why I liked racing, was the competition. I didn't like racing because I went out and drove fast on a racetrack with a bunch of other people. Like, I wanted to compete. I wanted to find out a way to maneuver a car and make it work, and find a way to make it work during a long run and compete. So, it's that time of year. I love that we have a silly season and it's a little bit up in the air and kind of fun. So
yeah, it's fun to talk about. I want to go back a little bit to your AAA comparison.
Yeah.
To kind of give credit to your career, and the others that had the similar career paths, who drove in the Busch Series or the Nationwide or Xfinity or whatever it was at the time, drove in the Truck Series and had success and ran well. The thing about AAA baseball is it's not on national television every week.
Right.
O'Reilly Series and the Truck Series are.
Yeah.
They're not. Yes, they're the stepping stone to Cup. But I don't think that it's fair to compare them straight to the minor leagues either. Now, there's a lot more minor league baseball than there is now. If you could equate that to late model racing, sure, which again, it's not apples to apples. I wouldn't call super late model racing the minor leagues either, because there's guys there that would whoop up on guys. But it's so hard to do, and I just want to give the credit where the credit's due. Nationally televised weekly racing on major broadcasting networks, like, that's a big deal to make it to the Truck Series and the RI Series. And yeah, some guys don't have the luck, and that's your to your point, the timing of they weren't there when the seat opened up. They had the talent, they weren't there when the seat opened up, and yeah, that happens. You see that like in baseball.
I mean, you look at Hornaday, as good as he was in anything, and he kind of got in Cup, but didn't really have stellar success. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's because of Ron by any means. Jack Sprague, he literally walked away from the sport and didn't even speak to people. I was listening to him on some radio this week, and they're like, glad to have you back, because he was up at Sturgis, and he was like, hey, it hurt too bad. I'd given it my everything, and he'd done everything right. He'd won the championships and proven himself, and then just didn't get in good stuff, and the way things cycled. And talk about somebody that deserved it. Those two dudes deserved to be up there. Yep. And it's just part of the game. I mean, there is, not that it's relevant in this case, but I still love the comment from Moneyball, which is, hey, it's a child's game, and at some day you're told that you no longer can do it. Mm-hmm. And so that's, and it doesn't mean that it wasn't because you didn't have talent, or Correct. You didn't have, it's because you didn't have money, or you didn't have the right situation, or a seat wasn't open when you needed it. Like, It's not fair. No. And it's not just in so many ways. And, so that's the hard part. That's where it hurts. That's where it hurts the drivers. And, we've talked about it, is, the guys who have sacrificed. And I don't know that I don't want to say they're not sacrificing to the level that we did then, but it just seems like a different level. You see the transporters, and you see the equipment, but
although being at Knoxville, their transporters ain't much of a step down.
Yeah, well, they want to make it, right? They want to, they want to make it, and you have these guys. I think you saw it. Trying to think who it was earlier this year, but they ran well, and you could see, but they didn't win. And maybe it was Landon Lewis at San Diego or whatever. And it was this like, they were just crushed because they knew that was their one. No, it wasn't Landon.
It was Rife.
Yeah. And you knew he knew how close he was to winning that race that could probably change his career and, and change his life. And at least to say he had a Truck Series win, and he was so close, and it hurts so bad. It's, it's kind of like those guys at Indy that are so close to winning the 500, and then they got to come back another year from now and then never win it. So that's what we love about the sport, to me. Yes. This is where you give it your all, and it's the agony of defeat, of career or opportunity, or we want to see that passion. I don't want anybody to take for granted that they ran X amount of truck races, they run X amount of O'Reilly races, and they get a cup deal. No way. You grind it out and you hope for the best. And that's why when they win, you see that passion and that excitement and, the thrill of victory. So, it's pretty cool stuff kind of going on to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to see the talent rewarded, and to see that there's still talent being invested in, because, like, Corey Day, there's so much investment still in him. It's just not, it's just, it's a great time to be a race fan. All right, getting into some storylines from the week. I'll leave the obvious with my background for the end. CRA was at Paris. Connor Lundy picked up another win in a really close battle with RJ Johnson. He's having some success out there. He's got some backing from Juco Superfoods, which they sponsor a lot of racing now, and they're starting to branch nationally with Tanner Holmes. So cool to see him run well. The battle at Berlin, Tristan McKee. We talked about him a lot, and he picked up a big super late model win up at Berlin against a very, very stout field of cars. And then Cletus made his late model debut, spun out. Berlin's tough, and those cars are not easy to drive. So
it's a fast track.
Yeah, and
you watch it.
Unlike anything else.
Yeah.
Cars Tour West, they were out at Evergreen, and Carson Brown, who's had a ton of success all year long, went out west to race with him out at Evergreen and showed again he has got it figured out, and that with that Anthony Campy group in the 81 car. And that's not the only team he has it figured out with, but they've got a really good handle on super late.
Cool to see him go out west.
Yeah, it is.
I know, Keelan and Kevin have been going out there, and then see some others start, making the treks.
It's just cool that West Coast late model racing is pulling national guys.
Yeah.
Again, like
I think Gardner finished third in that race. And why that's relevant is when I first started racing go-karts in Boise, I raced against his father.
Oh.
And so I follow him on some social media. So he runs a late model. I know he was standing on the podium with Harvick, and I think he finished third. So if Harvick got second, then he did. So
Harvick got second.
Yeah. So pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, good racing there. Trucks at Richmond. Caden Honeycutt picked up the win. I missed all of the. Did I miss all the truck? Oh yeah, I missed all the truck race because it was Saturday morning after the rain out on Friday. Did you get to watch any of it?
Yeah, I mean, he dominated. I think led all but 25 laps.
Yeah, so, he qualified good. So,
I think that team starting to find its rhythm. Caden obviously probably feeling pretty comfortable there. I know he ran really well in the truck race a year ago in the Toyota for Friesen.
Yes.
So that I think that's the first race he got in very last minute and ran like top 5. So
was up there in contention for the win.
Yeah. So Heim started deep. He worked his way up methodically, but it was Caden Honeycutt's race and just dominated.
Yeah.
So
Lane Riggs deep in the field too, I saw, which we haven't seen that in feels like forever. And then there was some speed out of the colleague trucks in practice, but not so much in qualifying and not so much in the race. But Butterbean was the highest finishing colleague truck again. I think he was 20th, but still.
It shows you how difficult it is to me. Yes. Like, colleagues not shy on resources. Obviously they don't have manufacturer data.
They got no sim.
No sim, but but this is the truck series. So you can discount some of that and say, oh, it's not, but look how hard it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they got good drivers and, they got
really good drivers
and they're bringing in talent and, they're just off and they're running the same engine. It's not because they've got, they lack horsepower. They got the exact same engine as everybody else.
Mm-hmm. So
it's just that little bit of body and the engineering and some guidance. So it's, I would wonder if they thought it was going to be as hard as it is.
Yes.
If you would have asked me, I wouldn't have thought it was this challenging. I would have found more top 10s and maybe a win would be hard, but I really thought that was doable.
Yeah.
And they're not even close.
No.
So.
No, they're struggling. But like you said,
they run better in their cup car without
OEM support.
Yeah.
Yeah. Allmendinger's having a great year with that. But yeah, I mean, to your point, shows you how difficult it is. Because I wouldn't have thought. I was like, all right, they're gonna have their woes early, just figuring it out. But I thought that they would have speed. They may not be consistent, but I thought they'd have speed, and they've struggled. And I think that that's cool because they came in, they have this huge backing from Ram, and they didn't fire off right out of the gate. Now I hope Ram sticks with it, and we can see them start to progress. But it's a testament to how difficult it is, and that's what we want. We don't want it to be easy. We don't want anybody to just be able to show up and produce something super
and sometimes we need to be shown that it's not.
Exactly.
Right? Like you begin to take it for granted. You begin to accept that, everybody's equal and it's not this, and how difficult it is. And I think sometimes we need to be shown that you have to overcome the challenges, and they're severe. These are professional teams striving to win every weekend. And if you haven't been involved in a car, or you haven't been involved in racing, and even me being removed X amount of years, you forget the intense focus on being fast and how to win. Yep. And I said it before, but in business, you can do good work, you can focus, and you can work on the details, and you could do everything, but it's not the same. Everybody in that shop, everybody in that organization is focused on one thing, and that is winning races and making yourself better every single day. So when you jump in and you build your trucks late because of the decisions made and how it comes up, and you're running behind, everybody else has been massaging for X amount of time. Plus they have learnings. The trucks work very different than the O'Reilly cars do for college learning there. And I know they talked a little bit about that. You're trying to get feedback, but now I'm sure they're adjusting their bodies and changing that. So yeah, I think it's good that we're shown that it's not easy. Yeah. And we need to celebrate more the success other teams have had when they found that success.
100%. 100%. Going over the cup stuff. Joey Logano picks up the win. Penske cars starting to come around a little bit.
I think they're coming around a lot.
Very good.
I think
they've come around a lot, yes, from where they were. Blaney was fast. I don't know. I had no service, so I
had some brake issues. I know. Okay. I think also the racetrack changed a little bit, missed a little bit somewhere there. Okay. I think the race as a whole, you have fans that want the race. You have the fans that like the strategy. You have this. I have to say the race to me was really good. You had comers and goers. Like the change in speed versus tires was just crazy how fast that changed. So that was fun to watch. And I thought TV did a really good job of tracking that for the fans. And then you kind of had to run your race. Like you had to lay back and you couldn't burn your stuff up, and you had to kind of think about what kind of race you were going to run, and you had to have it turn in at the end, but not turn in too much. And like, there was a lot to appreciate, and Logano just methodically worked on their car and made it turn. And then, even he got in the last one, and Chase was hunting him back down again. Yeah. And trying to, but you couldn't overdrive. Like, it was tricky because like, I kind of look back and go, did Chase make his move a little too early and burn his tires up? And then he couldn't, finish the job. Or if they would have caught traffic a little bit different. And Joey caught traffic kind of right. Like he was able to clear him up off the corner, and that made a huge difference. So it was good. I thought it was a great race, and probably the greatest part of the race was Knoxville was rain all day, and it allowed for 16,000 people to watch a flight tracker to see if he was going to make it. Yeah, it was cool. So the kickoff we'll talk about the racing, and then I'll talk about being there. The week kicked off last week. We were recording when the front row challenge was going on, and Kyle Larson picked up the win over Ryan Timms with some controversy. Slid across.
not quite clear. Took his nose wing off. Didn't take it off, so damaged it pretty bad. And yeah, went on to win. I mean, he threw a slider from deep and started the week off with some drama.
So I want to talk about it because it wasn't your typical slider where he slid and he either going to take you out or you're going to lift. It was more a side by side kind of drive in. Obviously, he could drive in and then he was sliding that last little bit, but it wasn't a drive from the bottom slider, right? So,
well, I mean, it was, but when he came across, he wasn't like feeding the right rear out. Right. And Oski races. I mean, I don't want to sound like I know what I'm talking about when I don't, but Oski seems like it races like Knoxville. It gets a lot more on the wall than Knoxville does. But the bottom, like when you hit the bottom, you run very straight. Right. And when you throw a slider, you're not throwing a slider.
Yeah.
You hit the bottom straight and kind of drive up straight.
Here's my point.
Get sideways.
Here's my point. He was beside him for about 5 car lengths. It wasn't that he appeared out of nowhere.
He threw it from.
I'm not defending, and here's where I'm going to go. You're racing short tracks, very fast, high horsepower stuff. If you get a shot to make a pass, you make the pass.
Yeah.
You don't likely get 2 shots at that because he's now going to block that line. So I'm sure he threw it in there. It kind of stuck. He made more ground up than he thought he was going to. And then it's kind of like, I got to do it. And he did it. Now, there's a lot of talk. Did Tim's immediately think he was going to crisscross him, cut him back?
Down.
And when he turned down, then that's when they hit. They would have hit anyway, I'm sure.
Yeah, it may not have been as bad.
But as fans, why don't we want that? Like, I know we don't. If you don't want sliders, then forget all dirt track racing because that's all you've got anymore. Mm-hmm. That's the only way you can pass. So, unless there's one groove on the bottom, one groove on the top. I didn't like it. I don't like it. But I know as a driver, I can tell you I was following Kenny Irwin, the late Kenny Irwin at the Copper World Classic in the Silver Crown cars. And I was setting him up and I knew where I wanted to pass him. And then I gained more ground going into 3 than I thought I was going to gain. And I had to make the decision right then. And I put it to the apron and then drove up and passed him. Now, it wasn't controversial, but for me as a driver, I know I can remember making that decision going, holy crap, I'm here.
Yeah.
I've got to make it. And I really think if we love sprint car racing and we love the action that it brings and we love kind of this, that's going to happen. Tim's dumped somebody at Knoxville, even worse.
Yes.
Fed him a wheel. Nobody's without blame. So, it's great for the fans to boo and cheer. And we all know racing survives because there's villains and there's heroes. Mm-hmm. So it is what it is. I don't think, Dale Earnhardt was the intimidator. And that name is for a reason because he could put it there and you are going to respect it more than you're going to maybe respect it from Terry Labonte. If you knew Terry Labonte came up, you knew that he was probably going to race you fair and clean and respectful. And I'm not saying Terry Labonte is not a hard charger, guy. But with Dale, he was going to put you in a position that you had to make a choice. And and Larson made that move. And that's why we love racing. So
yeah, no, I love it for how it kicked off the week with the storylines. I will say when I was watching it, he was driving and he's gaining. I'm like, all right, we got 10 to go. He's gaining. And all of a sudden he shoots for the slider. And I'm like, is he showing him the nose? I'm like, oh, no way he thinks he can clear this. Oh, he thinks he can clear this. Oh, there he hit, not clear. And it was I was bewildered by the fact that he came from so far back to throw that move. That was where I was like, oh my gosh. And then they had their words afterward.
But let me ask you, how could he, if Timms didn't make a mistake somewhere there, and it doesn't look like he did.
He was just
Larson wouldn't have been there.
Well,
Larson wouldn't have been there unless Timms made a hiccup. So he threw it in there looking for a different part of the racetrack. I mean, he came from 10 lengths back.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you think you're throwing a slider from 10 lengths back.
Yeah.
That track isn't that wide to do it. It's not like, Eldora.
I think he found more grip on the bottom than he thought he was going to.
Right. But also Timms had to bobble up top. And then he was there. Yes. Then he had to make that decision. Do I finish this? If not,
yes,
if I get off the gas, my front end's going and I'm dumping both Timms and I.
Yes. I agree. I think that his initial intent was probably to show Timms his nose a little bit, kind of intimidator-esque of, hey, I'm here, and try and get Timms to defend a slider, and then Larson could rip the top and run right around him.
Right.
I think he found more grip than he thought there would, and he had to go and went, and it was a great way to kick off the week with storylines.
Yeah.
So then we get to Knoxville. Wednesday night, the closest finish at Knoxville ever for my first night at the Knoxville Nationals with Hod, you had McFadden and Jace Park, who drove a heck of a race. Started up front, was gone. McFadden was catching him. Then they battled. McFadden got by him. I thought McFadden was going to set sail. And Park passed him back. And they were going to war. And then Hod just absolutely nailed the bottom. Ran the opposite of the Hod line. Nailed the bottom. 3 wide, coming to the checkered, and Hod gets the win by 0.006 seconds. Yeah. Amazing finish. I mean, and early in the night, we were watching the track, and never being there, it was like, man, this track is gonna be really tough to get racy. But it did. It got racy, and it was a phenomenal race. And then Thursday had a bunch of rain. Didn't think the track would ever widen out. It widened out. Larson took the lead. I mean, he ripped the top around Williamson, but there were sliders going on, and he did a little, and whether it was by design or what, but he got behind him on a restart, and restarted, fired with him and was right on him going into one. And then Williamson kind of parked it on the bottom, and so Larson had to back out and got tight and got up and kind of lost his momentum. And then another caution came out, and Larson went back by, and it was a red. Somebody flipped, and Williamson parked, and Larson rolled up and parked just in front of him. And it was like, you see that white 57 car roll up on you, as a guy who, like Williamson, who's had a great year, great success, is really coming into his own on the national scene. But he's not an upfront all the time guy. I mean, that 57 car, if I was in the seat, I'd be like, all right, I gotta figure it out. And then you saw Larson. I mean, he restarted there right on him and realized he had no time to make that decision. And so the next restart, he laid back and looked like he got a horrible start. And so Williamson, again, nailed the bottom. And so Larson had a bunch of time in the world to just nail it on the top, had a huge run down the backstretch, and passed him going into 3. I mean, he showed why he was Kyle Larson. I mean, learned from it, made his move. And I mean, it was another phenomenal race. And then Hard Knocks got banged on Friday because it was just rain and wet, no good. So they ran Saturday morning, got it in. Looking good. Donnie Schatz won that feature to put him in the C main. And then the rain came. And it rained and it rained. And it stopped raining. It looked great. And then it rained again. And then it stopped raining. It looked great. But it was like, man, it took a lot of rain. We're going to take some time to work this track in. And, Richmond's halfway. Richmond's got 30 to go. And they kept putting on the big screen of, hey, there's this many laps left at Richmond. Hey, there's this many laps. Hey, the race at Richmond's over. Hey, here's Kyle Larson's tracking. And they kept pulling up the plane tracking on the screens around the track. Here he is, and they sent Dirt Vision sent a group to film him when he got off the plane. And so then he got off the plane, and the video was up on the video board, the live of him getting off the plane and getting in his car with his police escort. And in rolls Kyle Larson through the back gate to an eruption of cheers and boos and energy, just electric from both sides. And yeah, and then the track, I gotta hand it to Knoxville and their track crew, because the track was racy. Now Kyle Larson stunk up the show at the front, but there's phenomenal racing through the field. And I mean, 8 sliders, like they did such a great job, because it took a ton of rain over the days and just a ton of moisture that day. And it widened out. I mean, it was super fast early in the first few mains, but they didn't, once they worked it, they didn't touch it again. And that's every night. They didn't touch it again. They did it, they ran it, and then they left it. And they know what they're doing. They did a phenomenal job. And yeah, Kyle Larson, to go from a full-bodied, heavy stock car that, well, they've added some more horsepower, still probably a little underpowered, to go into a lightweight dirt wing sprint car, no hot laps, no nothing. Gets in, he pushes off, he like scrubs the tires, is what he was feeling it out. And then, yeah, they were putting around, and then they had to catch back up to the pace truck. That's the only time he gave it any throttle. Takes the green and is just gone. I mean, just absolute dominance. Zipping through traffic, just weaving, just as comfortable as can be. And I think it shows a testament to, of course, Larson's talent, but also his faith in Paul Silva and Paul Silva's talent of setting up the car. Because Larson didn't have any time. I mean, yes, he won on his prelim, so they had a good car already. Didn't have time to give him any feedback on what the track was doing that day. Didn't have nothing. Paul Silva was like, we're setting it up. Here we go. Larson hops in, drives it. Dominance. I mean, getting to see those two work together is magic. I mean, I think that we would have been robbed. I think I can't take credit for this take. I saw it tweeted by the work area, but having Larson not there felt like we were being robbed of a little bit of history.
Yeah.
Like we have a potential to see a run like a 2010's Donnie Schatz. And that was from his tweet as well. So having the schedule conflict. So the rain, well, yeah, we had to stick it out, and hot laps didn't go off till 11:30 at night. It was perfect because he made it just in time, and it was dramatic, and it was cinematic, and
yeah,
it was incredible. I mean, it was amazing. It was unreal. And yeah, the energy. I mean, the crowd that stuck it out, and I'll speak to a little bit of a testament to Knoxville before I get into all the people that I get to thank for contributing to our amazing weekend. The town of Knoxville, if you haven't been, it's a very small town. They have the racetrack. All the yards, like there's neighborhoods around the track, and the yards, people rent out their yards for campers to park on. And the local homeowners are renting out business parking lots or their home yards for parking. And everybody is out hanging out. And then there's sprint car haulers. There's no pits. There's the infield, which usually they don't park haulers in, but because of the rain this week, they did. But like during the day, the haulers are just out around town. Like, oh, Chevy dealership. Oh, that's where Casey Kane and Dason Pursley are set up. That's where they're servicing their cars. Oh, there's a Dollar General right across. Torgerson's are parked right there. Oh, there's Brent Marks at the end of a strip mall. And then there's like a strip mall. And then inside the strip mall, Knoxville credentials were there. And there was just a bunch of them. And like you drive further down the other way, and there's just a big old stacker rig and a sprint car in the back of it and a crew going to work just around town. And then there was trailers with food and merchandise and gear, and everybody was there. All the locals were happy because they get to show off their town. This is what we're proud of. This is our home. And obviously it helps the local. I mean, I can't imagine how much it helps the local economy there with this weekend. And then you've got all the people that have come in from out of town that are super happy to be at the biggest sprint car race in the world. And so everybody's having a good time. Everybody's smiling and happy, and it's raining and it's muddy and the weather's kind of gross, but everybody's still happy, hanging out, having a great time. And the energy, and I got to hang out with Matt Weaver quite a bit on Saturday. And he's like, I'm so bummed because he brought his girlfriend for her first Knoxville Nationals. And it was Mom and I's first Knoxville Nationals. He's like, I'm so bummed that, you guys didn't get the full experience. And we were all like, if this isn't the full experience, like, I can't even imagine. And I'm like, it just means we have to come back. But like, this has been amazing. The energy, like, I can't speak to the energy, and everybody was just so excited to be there, whether they were a local, now is their home, or they were traveling in to see this race. I mean, everybody was just happy.
I think that's listening to you and your mom talk, Indy had that and has that, right? Where they, for years around the speedway, people make a little money because they park in the yard. Mm-hmm. But I think, if I have to think about to relate to anything, it's Indianapolis, in the early years. Like, everybody was so proud of that speedway in the month of May and the race. And you think of, this is a smaller town, and this track is, looming over the horizon, of what this town is. And everybody's super excited that the race is in town for that weekend. And, they got the Hall of Fame, they've got the beautiful, gorgeous racetrack, and then they have, a city that supports it, mm-hmm. from everybody, right? Like, there's nobody moved in next to the racetrack trying to get it shut down. Right now, this racetrack is everything to that town. It's their factory, so to speak, that, keeps them going. So, listening to you guys and the energy and the excitement, and you would know that it was raining and you were having to wait out things and stuff. So, it was cool to hear the energy from you and all that you were seeing. So that's pretty cool.
It was truly incredible. And the facility there, like, Knoxville, is amazing. It's world class. And the Hall of Fame was awesome. And that's where I gotta thank Shane Carson, who we've had on the podcast, who's become just a really great friend. And we got to hang out with Shane Carson so much this weekend. I mean, and not on the early days. He took some time, which now getting through the full weekend, I can appreciate and be so much even more thankful to just how kind he is to take the time and show Mom and I around the museum. And I mean, he's telling stories. He knows every piece that's in there, and when it ran, and who owned it, and who drove it, and this guy drove it after him, and I drove this car and I didn't like this car, so Bob Trossel told Steve Kinzer he could drive it, and Steve won the Knoxville Nationals in it. And like, just the stories we got to hear from him just walking through the Hall of Fame. I could have stayed there for days just listening to him talk about it. I mean, it was incredible. So Shane, thank you so much for it. I mean, and he was a dynamo all weekend, running around the hall, setting up the autograph sessions, making sure that everything happened and everybody was taken care of. And like, I mean, he didn't stop. He was rolling all week.
It would be hard to believe that there's a better ambassador for sprint car racing than Shane Carson.
He's
just and I don't mean that just because it's Knoxville, but you saw him all around Oklahoma, that he's just invested in it. And he's such a kind human, that he draws you in, and then his passion and his stories, and he's just a real asset to the sprint car community for sure.
100%. I mean, like, and whether he actually knows everybody or not, he makes everybody feel like he knows them, and they're part of the family, and they're there, and like, he welcomes you to sprint car racing, whether it's your first time or you've been a lifetime fan. Like, he welcomes you. Awesome. And it was awesome. And I got to say one more thing, which I forgot to mention to you. So every time he would introduce me to somebody, or me and mom to somebody, he's like, you remember the Tolsma family? Like, Randy drove midgets and stuff. But he would say our name in a way that made it sound like it was important and it meant something and it mattered. And so for me, from a guy who, I mean, you worked at the petty school with, but you didn't race against him.
Yeah.
For me to hear that, like, that was really cool. Like, he said our family name with some reverence. And that was cool. And that meant a lot. So, Shane, again, thank you for everything the whole weekend. And then that'll lead me into my next thank you. As Shane took us up, he got a text from Jennifer Marshall, who's one of the owners of Clausen Marshall Racing, and Marshall Stenhouse Racing, who own Tyler Courtney, who represent, and Spencer Baston. And he got a text from her, and she's like, hey, lunch is ready if you want to come up to the suite. So he took us up to the suite and introduced us, and then we got to go up on the very top of the tower and see over all the racetrack, which was a super cool vantage point. So we watched all the Hard Knock stuff from up there. But then, introduced us to Jennifer Marshall, who is so incredibly nice. We got to spend some good time with her and chatting and hanging out. And I mean, she was wonderful. And he made sure that Tim Clausen knew who we were as well. Which I had a very nice interaction with him. And they were both like, yeah, hey, you guys, like, make yourselves at home. Like, we look forward to hanging out with you the rest of the night. Like, come and enjoy the suite. And we're so glad you guys are here. And, like, we just were there because we just happened to be hanging out with Shane when he got the text that, hey, lunch is ready, come on up. And he brought us up, and all of a sudden we were in. And so, we got to watch the Knoxville Nationals, and we get to watch Larson roll in right underneath of us because it's the gate he came through. And we get to watch the Knoxville Nationals from the Clausen Marshall suite. And Brian Clausen was like my first racing hero that wasn't somebody that raced against you or that we already knew. He was like my first guy that I decided to like on my own. So to hang out in their suite and watch my first Knoxville Nationals, I mean, it was unbelievable. So thank you so much to them, the Marshalls and Tim, for having my mom and I and just hanging out. And we were there, and it was such a blast. And then got to spend a lot of time with Matt Weaver and his girlfriend. And so, we were chatting about racing, which he said anytime I want him to come back on, he's in. So we definitely have to have him back on. We were having some really good conversations, talking about different things, different ideas for the sport. And, we just talked candidly about racing, which is always fun. But yeah, I mean, I got to, again, say thanks. And, I'm still thanking him like I won the race or something. But the Knoxville track crew and the Knoxville owners and the announcers, like the track crew first, I mean, they stayed on that track. And those push truck drivers showed up early in the morning to roll the track in. And those guys showed up early and obviously left very late. Their dedication, and they worked in that track. I mean, they put in so much work to make sure that show was great. And it was great. It was great racing the whole weekend or the whole week. And then the announcers kept the energy up. They were interviewing guys. Like when the rain wasn't coming down, but we were waiting on track prep, they were running around the infield, finding guys to interview. And we were hearing from all the different drivers, and they were excited. And, team owners and the team, some guys were like, I don't know, it's not looking great. And they're like, no, we're staying positive. Like we're not, none of that. Like they were making sure we're staying excited, and they kept assuring everybody, they're like, we will race tonight. We don't know how late it's going to start, but we will race tonight. And I mean, they did a phenomenal job. Just everybody that was involved.
I think, and you've said it all. We've said, Shane was such an ambassador through Oklahoma that you've just thought so highly of him, just of the driver he was and how he's kept himself relevant in the sport. And then, being invited to the suite and just accepted and be brought into the family. I think it says so much what racing is, especially on the short track level, when you're in the family, you're in the family. Like,
Yep.
and it's, and then I thought you told me of meeting Tim Clausen, and I think it's important for people to hear the story. One, you chose Brian Clausen as your driver. One, because he made you as a young fan feel heard, right? Yeah. He listened to you. He talked to you. He looked you in the eye. He didn't just brush off and sign an autograph and go on his way. He made you, feel like he cared that you were there.
Yes.
And then to lose him, you said it yesterday, and I thought it was impactful, that's the first death you ever experienced.
Yes.
You hadn't lost a grandparent or a parent or, or anybody significant, other that was close to you, like he was, in a way, like he was an idol, he was a hero. Yeah. And to lose him, and what was so important about that I thought you said, is to watch them kind of find a passion that he had with the donor, then to move on with racing and continue to go. I think for a young person to see that life has to go on, like we have to find a way to move on. And, you obviously have your faith and the belief of what afterlife looks for, but we're still living here.
Yes.
And so to find a pathway, I thought that was just a really cool story. And I'm sure, he lives in the memory of his son, right? Like his memories. But then each time he gets to hear a memory from somebody else, I just can't imagine how impactful that was for him too. Yeah. Just the father to hear that about his son. So
cool. It was a super cool interaction, and I was glad I got to share it with him because they took something tragic and invested into something that is helping people, is saving lives. Yeah. And then, they kept it going with the sport. I mean, incredible. Can't say enough about their family and all the families that we came across at Knoxville. I mean, it was truly just
from the people you parked at every day. Like you get to know those people.
We got to know the people that we were buying the parking from.
Yeah.
And they've been parking cars there for a amount of years. And another cool little, totally in keeping with the theme of the weekend, where we parked, where they were selling the parking was like a business lot. The business had closed and was for sale, and who was selling it was Jamie Ball, who races sprint cars at Knoxville and was racing at Knoxville this weekend. He's the real estate agent, so he's official realtor of Knoxville Raceway. Totally in keeping with the theme of the weekend. Incredible.
Amazing. Sounds like it was an amazing weekend. I don't know how you could ever top it.
It just happened so perfect.
Yeah, which is awesome. So meant to be.
Yeah, so. It was super cool. Yeah. So
great time to be a race fan.
A great time to be a race fan. We'll sign off until next Wednesday morning. Spotify and YouTube. Keep tuning in. And we'll keep talking racing. Even if you're not tuning in, we're going to keep talking racing. All right. See you guys.